Objective Geology, multiple choice questions with answers. This is the solved question paper of Pondicherry PhD Earth Sciences 2015 question paper, and I hope this solved question paper is useful for various competitive exams like CSIR, NET, GATE, GSI and other exams. Welcome to set 1. Coming to the first question. Which one of the following would indicate the former presence of a glacial lake? The options are A. Lewis, B. Warwood clay, C. Till and D. Outwash sands. So the correct option is B. Warwood clay. The presence of Warwood clay, that is annually laminated sediments, they strongly indicates that the former presence of glacial lakes or proglacial environments because the seasonal variations in sediment deposition are characteristic of these settings. So Warwood clay, it indicates the former presence of a glacial lake. B is the correct option. Next question. Which one of the following is not true for comatites? A. They are associated with the greenstone belts. B. They are of Archean age. C. These are ultramafic lavas. And D. These are characterized by ophitic texture. So the correct option is these are characterized by ophitic texture. It is not true for comatites. Comatites are ultramafic volcanic rocks. These are commonly found within Archean and Paleoproterozoic greenstone belts. And these are not primarily characterized by ophitic texture. Instead, they are known for their distinctive spinifex texture. Spinifex texture means it features the skeletal, platy or bladed olivine crystals in a glassy ground mass. So, which is not true for comatites is these are characterized by ophitic texture is not the correct option. So that's why. So here the D, these are which is not true for comatites is these are characterized by ophitic texture is the correct option. Next question. In the normal limb of a fold, the dip of the cleavage is dash than to the bedding dip. A. Smaller, B. Greater, C. Similar and D. Half. So the correct option is B. Greater. In a normal or geometric normal limb of a fold, the dip of the cleavage is steeper than the dip of the bedding, meaning the cleavage dip is greater. B is the correct option. Next question. The lowering effect on the water table about the base of the well stem is called A. Speleothem, B. Aquiclude, C. Cone of depression and D. Artesian surface. So the correct option is C. Cone of depression. The lowering effect on the water table around the base of a well stem, so this is caused by a pumping, is called as the cone of depression. C is the correct option. Next question. Which one of the following processes does not occur during diagenesis? Options are A. Metamorphism, B. Compaction, C. Cementation and D. Lithification. The processes which does not occur during diagenesis is metamorphism. So metamorphic processes which involves significant changes in temperature and pressure, they do not occur during diagenesis, which refers to the changes that occur in sediments after deposition and before metamorphism. Next question. Which of the following is example for meteorological satellite? The choices are A. Iconos, B. IRS-1D, C. INSAT-1B and D. Landsat-7. So the correct option is C. INSAT-1B. INSAT-1B, this was launched in 1983. This is an example of meteorological satellite. It is a part of the Indian National Satellite System, INSAT, providing telecommunications, broadcasting, meteorological and search and rescue services. So example of meteorological satellite is C. INSAT-1B. Next question. In a hydrothermal ore forming process, second boiling refers to vapor saturation, which is achieved by A. Increase in pressure, B. Progressive crystallization of anhydrous minerals, C. Addition of boiling hydrothermal water to magmatic water and C. Decrease in pressure. So the correct option is B. Progressive crystallization of anhydrous minerals. In hydrothermal ore formation, second boiling, it refers to vapor saturation, which is achieved by progressive crystallization, where the remaining melt, it becomes increasingly water rich as minerals crystallize. Eventually, they lead to water saturation and exosolution. That means the separation of a vapor phase. So B. Progressive crystallization of hydrous minerals is the correct option. Next question. Placing geological events in sequential order as determined by their position in the rock record is called A. Absolute dating, B. Relative dating, C. Correlation and D. Historical dating. So the correct option is B. Relative dating. Placing geological events in sequential order based on their position in the rock record is called relative dating, not absolute dating. Next question. What causes magmatism above subduction zones? A. Mantle convection, B. Melting of subducting plate, C. Plume, and D. Fluids released from subducting plate. So the correct option is D. Fluids released from subducting plate. Magmatism above subduction zones, it is primarily caused by release of fluids, especially water, from the subducting plate, which lowers the melting temperature of the overlying mantle, leading to partial melting and magma formation. So fluids released from subducting plate causes magmatism above the subduction zones. D is the correct option. Next question. Marine sediments deposited in water depths greater than about 12,000 feet usually lack A. Fine-grained material transported by the wind, B. Carbonate shells, C. Silica-rich shells, and D. All of this. So the correct option is B. Carbonate shells. Marine sediments deposited in water depths greater than about 12,000 feet usually they lack carbonate shells because the high pressure and acidity of those depths cause them to dissolve. So B. Carbonate shells is the correct option. Next question. Alacogen type of sedimentary basins form due to A. Failing of one of the rifts of the triple rift junction, and B. Thrusting in a collision related mountain building process, C. Strike slip faulting along the margin of continent, D. Subsidence due to normal faulting. So the correct option is failing of one of the rifts of triple rift junction. Alacogen type sedimentary basins, which are essentially failed arms of a three-armed rift system. So they form due to the divergent plate tectonics and subsequent rifting, where two arms continue to open into the ocean basins, while the third arm fails to do so. So Alacogen type of sedimentary basins form due to failing of one of the rifts of the triple rift junction. A is the correct option. Next question. Two atoms are likely to make an ionic bond if A. Both of them are nonmetals, B. There is not much difference in their electronegativity values, C. There is a large difference in their electronegativity values, and D. They are of equal size. Two atoms are likely to make an ionic bond if there is a large difference in their electronegativity values. Two atoms are likely to form an ionic bond if there is a significant difference in their electronegativity, typically between a metal and a non-metal, where one atom readily loses electrons and the other gains them. Next question. Snowball garnet is characteristic of what type of crystal growth? A. Pre-kinematic, B. Synkinematic, C. Post-kinematic, D. Polykinematic. Snowball garnet is characteristic of synkinematic crystal growth. So it is a hallmark of synkinematic porphyroblast growth, indicating rotation of the crystal during growth under the conditions of dynamic metamorphism. So snowball garnet, it is characterized by spiral type of inclusions, and so this is inclusion of synkinematic crystal growth. Next question. Elements that partition strongly into the early crystallizing minerals are said to be A. Compatible, B. Rare earth element, C. Large ion lithophiles, D. Incompatible. Elements that partition strongly into the early crystallizing minerals are said to be compatible. Compatible elements are those that easily integrate into the crystal lattice of the early forming minerals during the cooling of magma. So A. Compatible is the correct option. Next question. Which of the following sandstone types is most likely to form by the mechanical and intense chemical weathering of a granite? A. Quaternite, B. Shale, C. Arkose, D. Litharinite. So the correct option is A. Quaternite. A quaternite or a quaternite sandstone is a sandstone composed of greater than 90% of dendrital quartz. And quaternites are the most mature sedimentary rocks possible, and these are often referred to as ultra or super mature and are usually cemented by silica. They often exhibit both textural and compositional maturity. So A. Quaternite is the correct option. Next question. Which of the following sedimentary environment is dominated by waves and tidal currents? A. Deep marine, B. Deltaic, C. Glacial, and D. Alluvial fans. So the correct option is B. Deltaic. A sedimentary environment dominated by both waves and tidal currents can be considered as a deltaic environment, specifically a wave and tide influenced delta. Next question. Which of the following is example of active remote sensing sensor? A. CCD array, B. Microwave radiometer, C. Synthetic aperture radar, and D. Aerial camera. Example of active remote sensing sensor is synthetic aperture radar. Synthetic aperture radar, SAR, it is a prime example of an active remote sensing sensor because it emits its own electromagnetic waves and then records the reflected signals to create images, unlike passive sensors that rely on existing radiation. So C, synthetic aperture radar is the correct option. Next question. The difference between tholeiitic and calc-alkaline basalts is mainly in A. Quartz content, B. Calcium content, C. Iron and alumina content, D. Alkali content. The difference between tholeiitic and calc-alkaline basalts is mainly in iron and aluminum content. The primary distinction between tholeiitic and calc-alkaline basalts, it lies in their iron and aluminum content, with the tholeiitic basalts being iron rich and calc-alkaline basalts being alumina rich. Next question. Lack of ocean upwelling in the eastern Pacific is associated with A. Coriolis effect, B. Global warming, C. El Nino, D. La Nina. Lack of ocean upwelling in the eastern Pacific is associated with El Nino, where weaker trade winds allow warm surface water to move eastward, reducing the upwelling of cold, nutrient-rich water. So, lack of ocean upwelling in the eastern Pacific is associated with El Nino. C is the correct option. Next question. Major evolution of atmospheric oxygen in the Earth took place during A. 3.5 to 3.7 gigaannum, B. 200 million years, and C. 540 MA, and D. 2.1 to 2.2 gigaannum. So the correct option is 2.1 to 2.2 gigaannum. The accumulated oxygen started escaping into the atmosphere where it reacted with methane. As more oxygen escaped, methane was eventually displaced and oxygen became a major component of the atmosphere. So this event is known as a great oxidation event, and major evolution of the atmospheric oxygen took place during this event, and this has occurred around 2.4 to 2.1 gigaannum. So D is the correct option. Hope you have followed the content and the questions. Hope you can subscribe and hope you can share, and see you in the next video. Thank you for your time.